All right, now that you have your packets out, make sure at the top of your page you put the learning target and the I can statement. It's right above the box on your note page.
If we already typed that part out for you, the least you can do is fill in that information.
So our target is 6G1, solving real-world and mathematical problems involving area. You're going to see that standard over and over again the next couple of days. And then the I can calculate today is the area of a parallelogram or find one of its missing measurements, working backwards.
All right, so hopefully you recognize this shape. This is a parallelogram. Think of it kind of like a cardboard box, but somebody sat on it, so it's kind of leaning to the side. You already know how to find the area of a rectangle, so we're going to keep that idea in mind and turn our parallelogram into a rectangle. Because we know for a rectangle, we just want to do base times height. So if I were to cut this little corner off of my parallelogram and bring it over to here, you would find that I could very easily take that same amount of area and turn it into a rectangle.
And easily recognize the base and the height now.
The base is the bottom edge, the height is how tall it is. But the one thing to keep in mind is that height is not the same thing as this slanted edge over here. So keep that in mind as we're doing the problems. The base is the flat bottom edge, but that height is going straight up between the two of them.
So in the next slide, we actually show you that. So often you guys work so quickly through the problems that it's very easy to put 7 as our height. We need to cross off our slants. We cannot use that as any part but perimeter when we're calculating things. And we need to remember the height is always perpendicular to the base. So Mr. McKenzie just described it, but we're really looking for that 90-degree angle, that box in the corner of the shape. It's not just the length of another side. It has to be perpendicular to the base. So be careful on your heights.
So you might want to jot that little piece of information over to the right-hand side in your note packet there, just to the right of that example one up there. The height is going to be a key in a lot of the shapes that are coming up in the next couple of days.
So let's get started. We need to make sure we put our formula into that box. The area is a capital A. Now we need to do the product of the base and the height. So we're going to use a little b and a little h. Area is going to be base times height.
Or the proper way to write it, base times height.
Yes, now that we've done equations. All right, example 1, we need to look at the figure to the right and figure out what our base is and what our height is. We need to make sure that we're counting correctly and we're using complete squares. Our base is going to be 4. We have no measurements, so it's just going to be 4 units. Taking that height perpendicular to the base, we have 7.
For that right angle, so you're going to follow it straight up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it doesn't matter that this part isn't a whole square, you still go straight up to the top. So that was 7 units high.
Thanks. All right, we're going to start with the formula, which is area equals base times height, and plug in what we know. So area is going to be equal to 4 units times 7 units. We should know this by mental math. So area is now 28 units squared. We multiplied a unit by a unit to get a unit squared.
So don't forget those units on your answers. Oh, I almost forgot.
Good, thanks. Your turn.
All right, next one. First we find our base. So that flat bottom edge, go from corner to corner and just count how many sections long it is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're not counting how many whole squares, you're counting the edge of it here. That's 5 units long. Don't even bother trying to count that slanted edge because we don't want that. The height goes straight up
1,
from the
2,
base
3, 4, 5
to the top. So it's also 5 units high. Area is equal to base times height, which is 5 times 5, which gives us an area of 25 units squared.
All right, in number 2, you will notice that they don't have it directly written on the shape. Sometimes they write it to the side, still showing that 90-degree angle for the height. So area is going to be 18 times 35, and this time we have a label other than units, which is kind of surprising. Yes, I expect you to show your work when you're multiplying. Of course I do. Good practice since I ran out of room. That was so bad planning. 3, thanks. 540, now you probably just lost our heads. Carry the 1, 630. What do you know, I did it right. Centimeters squared.
All right, third one, that's up to you. Instead of drawing the shape for you, they just gave you the information, but the same thing. Area is equal to base times height.
Pause
so do your multiplication.
Do it on your own. Check back with us in a second and see what you get.
So what should they get for their answer?
27 and 625 millimeters squared.
Don't forget those units on there.
And do not line up those decimal points when multiplying. If you got an error, go back and figure out where it is. All right.
You can take this one.
Now we need to work backwards. So the first thing we need to do is to write down the formula, plug in our numbers for the variables, and then solve just like we learned in our equation. So this time they're giving the area, 24 inches squared,
So put that in for area.
is equal to 6, and we don't know the height, so 6h, please. Now, we know how to undo multiplication with division, so we're going to undo both sides with division. 6 divided by 6 simplifies to just height. 24 divided by 6 is 4. 6 times 4 is 24, so I've checked my work. Thanks, and it's correct.
So just plug them in and work your way backwards. So number 4 is for you to try. Start with your formula. Area is equal to base times height.
Plug in what you know.
Plug in what you know, and then solve your equation to find your missing piece of information.
They should get.
When they're done, they should have 27 is equal to
9h.
9h. Of course, they divided both sides by 9.
So h was.
So h is equal to 3 feet.
Good. Moving on.
Last one, the fun one. So this time we want to find the area of the shaded region. So you'll notice that we started with a big parallelogram, but somebody came and took a big chunk out of it. So I always think of it kind of like a birthday cake. Somebody came and scooped a big piece out of the middle of your cake.
Because they wanted the middle.
That's where all the good frosting is. So we have 3 steps to it. First, find the area of the big shape. So our big shape here is our parallelogram. Hopefully you haven't already forgotten how to find the area of a parallelogram since you've just spent the last 10 minutes doing it. Base times height, so 21 times 12. Do some quick math. Hopefully I didn't mess it up.
No, you didn't. You're good. 5.
Oh, 5. That's what I meant there.
Okay.
So I got 252 inches squared for the parallelogram.
New color.
I'll go red since you're wearing red today.
Thanks. The area of the smaller rectangle, base times height for a rectangle. So area is going to be equal to base times height, which is 13 times 7. 13 times 7 on your multiplication chart gives you 91 inches squared.
So we found the area of the big shape. We found the area of the hole in the middle of it.
Step 3, different color, purple.
I'm going to go with green. Oh no, I hate green and red.
Yes, you do. Subtract the 2 areas to find the area of the shaded region. So fancy borrowing, here we go.
So 161 inches squared is left over.
So the area of the shaded region would be 161 inches squared.
But as you're working through it, just use those 3 steps and kind of walk yourself through it step by step to find that shaded region.
See you tomorrow.